Hi, I'm Jim Semelka, Urban Forestry Superintendent, and what we're looking at today are some both appropriate and inappropriate uses of the Parkway here in the village. As you can see behind me, we have some plantings out on the Parkway. The plantings themselves don't pose a problem or add any additional liability to the village. However, as you can see, there's a fence or a structure, in this case a fence, around this planting, and that's where some of the problems come in. What we have holding this fence up here are these fence posts. And as you can see, these are made of wood or bamboo, and they're only about a foot tall, but they stick up above the grade of the fence. These are hard, these are kind of sharp, and the problem with this is this presents a liability to the village and a danger, actually, to pedestrians, to folks using the sidewalk as a place for bicycling or for walking. This is not obviously visible at night. There are people, if you didn't know this was here, you could easily trip over this, and it would be pretty serious consequences if you happen to catch one of these in some part of your body, some part of your face, any place that a situation like this has the potential to cause serious injury. Another example of what we would consider an inappropriate structure or use of the Parkway are these paving stones. As you can see, this Parkway hackberry here, it's about 12 inches in diameter, it's probably 12 to 15 years old, has been surrounded by these pavers or this wall stone. The inside of this enclosure has been built up with soil. This part of the tree where the tree goes into the ground is called the root flare. It's the part of the tree that differentiates between root material and tree material. When these kinds of structures are built around the tree and dirt or soil is put in here and to fill up the structure, as this soil has been raised, as you can see, the level here from the Parkway to the inside is a good somewhere between 4 and 6 inches. The tree now begins to grow roots in this zone. Because that activity, which is detrimental to the tree, is also constricted by the structure, what happens is the roots begin to girdle and grow around the tree. And a good example is this root right here. As you can see, this root is growing in this soil because this soil has been added. These roots are not natural to this tree. They want to be under the original grade, down here another 4 or 6 inches below ground. This root that's beginning to just completely girdle, it's going to literally strangle this tree, and what that will cause is the original root system, the original root flare, which is now buried, will decay. And instead of this tree becoming an 80 or 90 or 100-year-old hackberry, a gorgeous Parkway tree, at some point here over the next 10 or 12 years, when this is completely girdled, this is completely constricted, and that wood is rotten enough because the tree still has a nice crown, this tree will probably actually blow over. I've seen this in hackberry especially in several instances around the village. And when the tree falls over, it falls over right here at the base because this is now rotten wood. And actually there's not even a stump left. It's almost like you pulled the tooth out of a socket. In addition to the harm that these types of structures cause for the tree and the problems they present for the tree, there also here is once again the liability issue of structures like this being on public property. As you can see by these stones, these present a pretty sharp, pretty hard-edged surface, these stones are actually pretty sharp. I certainly wouldn't want to trip and fall on one of these or accidentally lose my balance on my bike and fall on one of these stones. This is an extremely hard surface, obviously a lot harder and the potential for injury a lot greater than if you were just to fall on the turf, which is actually pretty soft compared to these heavy, sharp, basically pieces of concrete that are built up around this tree. Another practice that's very detrimental to Parkway trees and trees in general is what we call volcano mulching. And what we'll see when we take this dirt away from here is that the bark of this tree, the trunk in this case of this tree, will be completely wet. The bark underneath this mulch will never dry out. It will stay soggy, it will stay damp no matter how dry the weather gets. That serves as a great entry point for insects, disease, viruses, funguses, things that attack the tree right at the root flare, at that critical area of the tree where so many important things are going on, disrupt the transport, and will eventually cause this tree to die. So I'm just going to take this spade and start to remove this, and you can see already that there's a lot of fine roots that are growing in this mulch, and they are from this tree. And we get down in here, this foot of mulch and this foot of topsoil, and you can see right away how wet that is at that root flare, and that looks that way because that tissue, that bark, that part of that tree, it's soaking wet. You can see that roots are already coming out, and when they get to the edge of that mulch, that big pile, they're going to start to circle, and they're going to start to girdle because that's the only place they have to go. The roots are above ground and are strangling and constricting the tree. These roots are coming out of this material because now the tree thinks because it's covered with soil, it wants to grow roots, not trunk. So this is where the mulch should be. This is a proper depth. This is a proper distance away from that root flare. And we make a nice little saucer. This keeps the lawnmowers, keeps the weed whips away so they don't damage the tree. Keeps the volcano mulch and dirt effect away from the tree. Forms a saucer so we can catch the rainfall and focus it on the root ball of the tree. And just something as simple as this will allow this tree to establish, get out of its own root ball, and live a long and healthy life.